I loved how you described your home life. First, like, I'm glad so you have like a wild garden, and I love the idea of the gardening, but also that in addition to 2 teenage boys, you have 2 corgis, 2 cats, 5 poison dart frogs, 3 geckos, 1 large centipede, and 5 assassin beetles.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what an assassin beetle is, and how does one get to have 5 of them?
You're listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast, where we uncover inspiring things about our community through the stories of inspiring people who call it home. I am Dee Harrell, and this is the creator of Oh My Omaha, the blog, and the blogosphere's friendliest face herself, Kim Reiner.
Hi there. Hey everybody, so it's just me today. It's winter, so of course there's car troubles and that sort of thing, and we're just going to dive right into the show with our guest today from Lauritzen Gardens. And I know, so Mia Jenkins is, I've been, I guess, friends and work colleagues for many years, but she joined Lauritzen Gardens in 2011 as the director of marketing. She has more than 20 years of nonprofit marketing experience, specializing in marketing events and attractions. She's passionate about travel, food, live music, sports, plant shopping, houseplant parenting, British television, and design. An outdoor enthusiast, Mia enjoys nature hikes with her husband and her Siberian Huskies. Victoria Schoell-Schafer is the Chief Operating Officer at Lauritzen Botanical Gardens, where she leads the horticulture grounds and facilities teams. When not at the garden, Victoria visits botanical gardens, natural history museums, prairies, forests, urban landscapes, art galleries, with her family to refuel her creative side. Thank you guys so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having us. We're excited to spread cheer and talk about what's going on at Lauritzen Gardens.
It's a busy time of year for you two, I imagine. What's going on at the gardens right now?
Well, it is the holiday season. You know, I think we celebrate every season at the garden for its own unique beauty. But there's really something magical about the holiday season, and we kind of look at it as a living invitation to celebrate the wonder and joy of the holidays, and we try to do that through plants. So our show features thousands of poinsettias accented with evergreens and cyclamen and paper whites, and then lights and model trains as well for a bit of glitter and a hint of nostalgia, to really kind of make the season come together and be merry and bright. And it really is 2 different experiences, kind of in the day and in the evening. But we want people to feel like they can connect to nature even during the winter, when you might not otherwise think about coming to a botanical garden.
Were you involved with the planning process of like Merry and Bright and Bright Nights?
Yes. So the teams that I lead, our goal is always, we always have the 20-foot tall poinsettia tree. How do we take it and be creative with it, surprise people? How do we get them to see it this differently? This year it grew 4 feet. We put extra blocks under it, so technically it has almost 800 poinsettias this year. We really we want people to come back and always be impressed or inspired, or like, how did they do it again? Our goal is just to keep people coming back, keep them guessing, having new experiences, but also keep coming back with their families, or whoever, for the tradition of it, and then always being surprised. And that's where the lighting, as we added the lighting over the past 8 years, have we been doing Bright Nights? Yeah. That just added another layer. Next year we'll add a larger outdoor component. So we're just always trying to be creative and give people reasons to come back.
How long does it take to plan something like this?
From the minute we start the show, the 21st of November this year, we quickly find, that didn't quite work, and we're tweaking, and then it's like, this is how we can improve on that next year. So it's a year-round cycle. The plant prep starts in January, depending on what we're designing or what we're building. A lot of it really starts happening in June. Okay. So what's exciting now with our new greenhouses is you'll be able to start seeing the poinsettias grow when you walk into the back of the garden, and hopefully we get people excited and realizing we're growing the poinsettias starting in June, and then move them into the floral display hall around November.
Okay, excellent. Just moving on so year round, you talk about wanting the gardens to be a visit, like a on top of mind sort of thing. What are your favorite spots in the gardens? Like any time of year, or if there's a specific time of year where you're like, I always have to go check out this area.
This time of year, which is, it's a little sad because not as many people go to the back of the garden, but the native grasses are really tall, and the way the sun sets earlier, you really just get this glow across the grounds in the valley in the back that it's a really beautiful spot. And there's a lot of great sunsets and stuff. So it's one of my favorite areas, but again, every area is pretty special. It just depends on what you're interested in. If you're birding, it's a different area, yeah, it just depends.
Okay. It's like children picking.
Yes.
For me, I really like the solitude of the woodland walk. And it's been closed off for a while for the construction project on the Marjorie K. Doherty Conservatory. And so it's kind of nice to be able to walk out there. It feels more like a little bit of a hike in an urban setting, and has some nice views, and it's usually not as populated as some of the other areas of the garden. So it's really this like peaceful retreat. And this time of year, I also really enjoy the conservatory and the humidity and the temperatures in there, and how there's just this juxtaposition, especially on a snowy day where you're in this environment that's lush and green and you're looking outside and it's this harsh Nebraska winter.
Absolutely.
And
it's an oasis. Keep that in mind when I need it.
So it's just kind of like this, it feels good on your skin. You hear the running water and things that you miss, I think, outside. But yes, the native grasses, barks, berries, seed pods, things like that in winter. I think it always takes a special person, to really appreciate, but to really look into nature more this time of year. And there's still really beautiful things to see outside too.
So you guys have a lot of things in the works, right? You mentioned some of it when I read your bios. Yeah. I'm excited. I've been going in the garden since my children were like toddlers. We were talking about my daughter Charlotte was about 3 years old maybe when we started going with her. And one thing that I've been looking forward to is this renovation of the children's garden. Mm-hmm. Can you guys talk about what's planned? I know you were involved with design work and everything.
It's so excited because it opens at the end of May, and we really kind of started this in 2018. So, and then COVID delayed some stuff, but it's what I love about the gardens is we do. And this is where I feel like Omaha Botanical Gardens is unique, is we do art and plants, horticulture, we combine them all. We're really artists with plants and also with buildings. Everything we try to do, it looks great 4 seasons. And with this children's garden, you can begin to see the urban green developed, the houses, the colors. It's really starting to take shape. We're focusing on the less hills and prairies and trying to educate kids in fun ways and getting them to care. And we know that if through inspiring and playing and touch, we're hoping that gets them more invested. And what's really fun is the view of it is in the gardens, you can't really see the river. And then now with this overlook, you'll be able to visually kind of have more of a connection with the river and the views from it back into the conservatory and up into the woodland forest. It's just going to be really spectacular. There's a water play area. There's a lot of free play areas too, where we'll have materials and it's their imagination. So really hands-on. And then also we want it to appeal to everybody. So there will be floral beds and floral displays that are a little bit with creative fencing around so that stays year round too, and the kids can watch the pollinators, and then the parents are also stimulated too, because we all know what it's like when you're in a spot where it's very kid oriented and you're kind of like, how long do I have to be here? and our goal is that we're appealing from 0 to 100. Like, everybody's going to want to hang out there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
I read that you're talking about a satellite garden experience in the old market. What is that? That's a
Do you want to
cool idea I didn't know about.
You've been a lot more involved in that one than I have.
Yeah, no, it's really it's about a block site. We share it with the Bemis Center, okay. And what is exciting is it's a world-renowned landscape architect. Piet Oudolf is the designer of the garden, and he did the High Line in New York City. There's the Lauritzen Garden in Millennium Park in Chicago. So he's designed this garden, and so it will be installed and open at the end of 2026. He definitely kind of does more of the prairie matrix, very natural looking, meadowy kind of prairie-esque landscapes, but there will be urban trees too. So he's a master with color and textures and seasons. And so it's exciting that we get to have one of his gardens and help it thrive, and then it will be free and open to the public, and it will have hours of when you can attend and not, but it's really exciting and will help beautify the urban core of Omaha.
Awesome. I used to live in the old market and would have loved
Yeah. Yes.
It was a while ago. That sounds awesome.
Yes.
So so when I used to work at the Children's Museum, a lot of my travels, I would incorporate going to visit places and just getting ideas or just being inspired. And I'm curious about some of the places you've traveled that you've enjoyed or that have inspired anything that you brought back to Lauritzen Gardens, or just any notable places that.
I think we are both habitual botanical garden visitors. Any time that we travel. A little plug for membership. That's one of the great things about it is we have a reciprocal program with over 380 other gardens. So when we travel, we can, 100%. As members of the garden, you can go to many other gardens for free. And I know I've been to Denver several times, to North Carolina, to Cheekwood. I've been to some of the Royal Botanic Garden places in Scotland and.
And the reciprocal thing works over.
That one does not.
Yeah, I was going to say it was just
it was just a very much a highlight of the visit. But no, I've probably been to 20 to 25 other gardens, and I mean, I think we all take pictures and bring them back and show them to each other, whether it's a really cool art installation or the way there's like a permanent bonsai display that works in their climate that may or may not work in ours. Different exhibits. We've all gone to different like traveling exhibits and brought those ideas back, or just special events that they've had, or even guest service things too. I think just little tweaks that you can make here and there to continually improve on the guest experience and what we're kind of bringing to the table to offer year round.
Yeah. I mean, we all have the same issues, especially among a botanical garden. We all have the same fun challenges to solve. So that's where I love the travel is, look at how creative they were in solving that. And of course, they say the best compliment is copying, and interpreting. And so what I always love is we go and get inspired. And with the lighting show, the horticulture manager who is in charge of the floral display hall, one holiday we went to 2 different lighting shows, and again talking to them, how did you get here, the pros and cons. We're always using our botanical garden community to help support us and not make the same mistakes. Yeah. But coastal Maine, I had never been to coastal Maine botanical gardens. Heard so many people say how amazing it was, and you go there, and then I was like, it's amazing. It is well worth what everybody says. It's really charming. What's super exciting is the landscape architect who designed that children's garden. He helped us with our concept on ours. So it was really fun to go through it and then see, oh, this is kind of, we have a different interpretation, but the same overall concept. So it was exciting. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't count Lauritzen Gardens, where do you go for nature inspiration close to Omaha, or to immerse yourself into it?
For me, it's probably Hitchcock Nature Center.
Yeah.
Maybe Platt. We used to walk our dogs a lot at Standing Bear, but that was just more because it was close by, not really for the views. But those are, I think, some of the places we go. Occasionally Fontenelle, like the trails of Fontenelle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's definitely Hitchcock and Fontenelle, but I live really close to the Joslyn Castle. So I have 2 corgis, so we love to walk that block too. And it's fun because they're an arboretum site. They put a lot of energy into their landscape, but I like walking neighborhoods too because people just do a lot of fun, creative stuff, and it's always surprising too.
You mentioned your pets, your corgis, and I wanted to ask you. So I loved how you described your home life. First, like I'm glad. So you have like a wild garden, and I love the idea of the gardening, but also that in addition to 2 teenage boys, you have 2 corgis, 2 cats, 5 poison dart frogs, 3 geckos, 1 large centipede, and 5 assassin beetles.
Yes.
And I wanted to know what an assassin beetle is, and how does one get to have 5 of them?
Well, because they like sell them, and
sets of 5.
I laugh at this because my oldest just went off to college the first year, and it was like, oh my God, now all these animals and the responsibility that it was like, who signed up for this? Yes. So happy that he's coming back for Christmas soon so we can push this back on him. But the assassin they're really beautiful blue beetles. And so he's studying entomology. So now we kind of see all this, how it's connected. But you order them online. It's crazy because, he was the one that taught me to start seeing the bugs in gardens. I would say I was a gardener, but not quite as holistic. And through him at a young age and him seeing all these little things and helping me understand the connections between plants and insects, and they both need each other. And when one would be eating something that I wanted, and he was like, no, leave it alone. And I was like, okay. And so we've changed our practices at the gardens too, of being more ecologically minded horticulture, because it's like we need these ecosystems. And so it's interesting as we evolve, and that's even with the holiday show too, of like, how do we do best practices and use our resources wisely? And poinsettias and all of these plants are very resource heavy things. So again, as we grow in the future, it's really looking at those challenges and how do we tweak the story and the message, and that's what I look forward to as the garden grows too. Yeah.
Okay, because I mean, it sounds like my daughter's future. Like honestly, she loves corgis. She loves.
Yes.
She's got a bearded dragon. Yes. Her house is slowly turning into a zoo.
Well, and it happens all of a sudden. You're like, how did this happen?
I know. Like, I feel my daughter's going to go off to college, and I'm going to have this bearded
yes. Well, and then they start earning money. They just bring this stuff in, and you're like, oh, okay, great. Awesome. But it is fun.
I bet.
Yeah.
Busy.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you. So I saw that you're a soccer fan, and I love soccer, but I have not gone to any Union soccer games. What's the atmosphere like there?
You're missing out. No, I've been a
embarrassing
fan / started playing at age of 6, and kind of my husband slowly turned into a football / soccer fan as well. Kind of during the pandemic when a lot of other sports went away, and So I convinced him to go a few times, and it's still an adjustment to watch it in a baseball stadium, but there's a really great core group of fans that we sit with in particular. We're season ticket holders. It was really fun this year watching them, win it all. They had a really wonderful season. And so it's always fun to, cheer for the winning side, but to watch the team kind of mold and work through adversity and to win. It's fun for us. It's something we really look forward to doing together and that we both enjoy doing. So we enjoy it. It's great for Omaha. I'm really looking forward when they have the stadium closer to like work where it's like, you can pop over after work, or if they have a day match, you can go watch it a little more easily. But they've built a really great program, and it's great for the city, and it's great to see, younger players going and just people who really love and embrace the sport, kind of embracing it in Omaha.
Very cool. Do you go to any like soccer bars or watch any of the overseas games?
Well,
yes, maybe they travel too to go to games.
We have my husband is a big. Well, I guess we're both a Chelsea Football Club supporter, so we have gone down to the pubs in Benson to watch some weekends. We kind of tend to watch at home more than that, but we have traveled to some of the summer games that they've played for exhibition in different cities, and that's when we hit botanical gardens and craft breweries and restaurants and things like that kind of fit all of our collective as a family like passions. And we kind of curate these little trips with concerts and beer and sports and gardens and art, and it's like the perfect combination for the two, for my family at least.
Right.
So when you are your downtime or your free time, what do you guys like to do? Like either with your family, on your own?
What's downtime?
I know. I was not gonna say. Right now,
I do like to read. It's something that I need to have the time to do it, but I also love to cook. And again, it's when it's rushed and you're getting home at like 9:00 after a bright night shift, you don't want to cook. But when I have like the weekend, and especially in the winter, I usually try to like make one recipe a week that's new to us, just to try something different. But I really enjoy that, and the dogs, and buying and trying house plants and praying I don't send them off to their death.
I think it's funny that you don't have much big them. I don't. I definitely, it's my husband that's trying to keep them alive. I'll buy them and then just kind of like.
Me in the marketing department for a reason, Kim.
I just, again, a lot of mine is, I moved here from Kansas City and going back and kind of gain inspiration there, and being with family and some friends. And I laugh. I'm like, do I say this out loud? I teach jazzercise too. It's a really good thing. And I go to jazzercise, and that's my stress relief, and I really appreciate it.
Do I say it out loud? Of course you do.
I know. I own it. Right. I feel like I should say reading books, and the minute I sit to read a book, then I fall asleep.
Because you're tired from jazzercise.
I know. Yeah. That's totally it. No.
So is there a downtime for working at a garden? Like, is it just...
I really haven't
there
found
would be a slow
one.
season because
we've had this conversation a lot, and there used to be more of a shift. There was never as like, we wouldn't call it downtime. What I would say is we call it daydreaming. We call it getting creative, going kind of hibernating a little bit and saying, okay, the land went to sleep outside, and now we get to kind of focus on what we're going to do. And this is where we've been talking about this a lot with the seasonal changes, and we're still kind of adapting to, we used to shut down our irrigation in October. We just shut it down last week because it wasn't getting cold. And so we were like, God, there really does not feel like there's the downtime there used to be. And there's more reaction. And then part of it is like the weather's changing. And so there used to be a blanket of snow and it was down and then we were hands off. But when there's no snow and then it rains and then it's like, well, what should we be doing? So there's kind of a transition happening, I would say, within of how do we respond and should we be responding? Because sometimes it's like, well, it still is winter and it is going to get cold. So that's been interesting the past few years.
Yeah, that's because I had read about how we're like Omaha's in a different zone now. Yeah. Are there plants that are not faring well with that change, or are there plants that suddenly are doing much better?
Right, it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely some that we definitely have a little bit in where the gardens is located. We have a little bit of a heat island effect going, and so some things that it's like, oh, that came back. Wasn't expecting that. Even with some annuals and some salvias, and I've noticed that in my own yard too. And then some other stuff of it really wants to go fully dormant, and the weather isn't quite allowing it. So or the dryness that it can't make it through the dry winters, and really wants that snow blanket. So it's been interesting, and that's where it's even the Botanical Garden Society is like, do we shift what we're planting? And I'm not there yet. I'm really like, let's still, like, we're kind of in a wait and see pattern of.
I feel like it opens it up where there's things you could try that maybe before you might have been afraid to try.
Yes,
because sometimes plants are expensive, and now you might feel like,
yeah,
hey, I really like this. We could give it a go.
100%. And we have pushed some things. And again, it's that for 2 years it lasted really well. And then we got the polar vortex.
That one freeze.
Right. And then it was that polar vortex where it's like, okay, we can't totally do this. There's a balance. So, and this is why I always enjoy working with nature, is in the end, nature's in charge, and we're there to watch and learn and respond and enjoy what it has to offer and teach us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So upcoming events for the gardens, what's coming up in the next few months that you think is pretty exciting that people would want to?
Well, our holiday show goes through December 31st, and I know I mentioned it's kind of a different experience in the day or in the evening at the ticketed Bright Nights events. And then starting in mid-January, we have Wonders of the World, which if you've seen our model railroad garden, you'll kind of recognize some of the structures because they're built very similarly out of natural materials by the team at Applied Imagination Studios, but they're designed to kind of take you through the architecture with modern and ancient marvels like the Eiffel Tower, Leaning Tower of Pisa, Taj Mahal. I think there's 14 or 17 different structures, and we'll keep the model trains running and kind of go on a journey across the world.
So will that be like in the conservatory then to go see it, or outdoors?
It'll be in the floral display hall, one of our old shows early on, because the conservatory is going to close again for the second phase of its renovation, which is the soil and plant kind of reestablishment of new plant collections. And so that'll be exciting, and we'll reopen in fall of next year. But the show in the spring will kind of be a little bit smaller, but still intimate and lots of movement. So I think it'll be great to have people kind of experience that too.
There'll be a topiary elephant where you can get your picture taken on it, and a camel too. Yeah. So there's some fun surprises and stuff.
And then we kind of move into our daffodil display, which really kicks off spring. We're still planning some new and different events for next year as well. With the topiaries, we have a collection coming on from another botanical garden, and we have over 30 different mostly animals, fish,
right? Animals
that
fish.
will be on display, kind of from Memorial Day through Labor Day.
Oh, cool.
But it's more of a like accenting the different garden areas. Kind of what can you find as you explore?
Yeah.
And then the big thing, next year's Sophia's Play Garden opening around Memorial Day is what we're hoping, and then the Marjorie K. Doherty Conservatory reopening in the fall. So we've had a lot of construction, and so we're really grateful to the community for sticking with us through it. But we really hope that they see the changes and it really improves their experience, because that's, I say from the beginning, this garden was really a grassroots effort from the community. It's been fostered and sustained by the community. We really exist for the enjoyment and education of that same community.
Yeah.
So we hope that they really enjoy what the different take on nature that each of these spaces will have moving forward.
Excellent. So I end the episode always asking the same questions to our guests, and there's no wrong answer, right answer to it. Where do you find inspiration in Omaha? Who wants to go first?
You.
No, well, I think we're both very creative people. For me, I think creativity takes many, many forms. So for me, it can be like in a really good meal that someone's prepared, and I can like take appreciation of their spin on a dish and try to like analyze how they did that in that art form, or walking through a place like, the Joslyn, just that can calm me, soothe me, inspire me. With working with graphic design and such, like it gives me inspiration for color palettes or shapes and movement and ideas. I also just enjoy hiking in general, time in nature, walking the dogs. That's kind of my like calming place. Yeah. And places like hot shops, I think, where I'm always like, I wish I had time to do stuff like that. But where you can kind of just see how creative our community is. I think those are really great spaces for me. And then, sometimes it's like at the bottom of a beer glass at one of the local craft breweries, and you're just like, hey, it's unique to try different things and to see how they take very similar ingredients and make different, flavors and profiles. And sometimes you get really good ideas after one or two. So I think that would be my answer.
Yeah. I will say this is what's fun to me about the holiday show and us working at nights is hearing visitors' reactions or hearing their experiences and seeing it, because a lot of time in my day-to-day, I don't get a lot of interface with the visitors. So there is a lot of inspiration in that, of just the reminder of the audience and then seeing how they interpret things. And that's with every show that we do. You always have this intent, and then it's always how it's received. And a lot of times they line up, but what you think they're going to catch on to is usually something different. And that's where I get a lot of inspiration from my coworkers, because they go out and do a lot of exploring too, and they come back with ideas. And I love ideas and challenges. How can we make this work? How can we do this? We had this great experience there. And so that's where it's been fun with all the new stuff happening in Omaha with the riverfront and those people, and like, this was so cool. Can we do this? Or how can we do this in our version of it? So that's what's been fun, as we've grown as a community and had more creative and outdoor spaces of just, it makes us up our game too. Mm-hmm. And it's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's always, how do you complement
that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how like they have this, and so we don't want to do the same thing, but you're inspired by what they've built and then want to do something that provides similar but not replicate that experience.
Right. And I think it's that whole a bit of the more creativity feeds more creativity. Right. And that's that concept of the more creatives get together, the more fun I would say we have and elevate. And that's why we've done a lot of work with the hot shops and working with different artists and just helping inspire each other. And again, it's not just artists. It's mall halls, it's Lanahaw, it's working with other people in the fields, the universities, Metro, having their interns come intern with us, and so it's all that energy, and getting more people to the table always builds that energy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Those are good answers.
Much more profound than my beer glass.
No, it's good.
Okay, I'm a gin and tonic person, so I will say on a fire on a warm night, there's inspiration there to hibernate.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there anything that you guys wanted to mention that we might not have talked about or touched upon before we go?
Well, I think in general, the garden has really changed in the last few years. It's really a great place for inspiration of what to plant in your yard. I know Victoria and her team have really focused a lot on adding a lot of native plant material to the space, which is hardy, but also has a unique beauty and really showcases the sense of place that we have in Nebraska. We're working hard to conserve plants of the Great Plains, as well as some rare orchids that were transferred to us from Henry Dorley Zoo and Aquarium. And so our plant conservation program is continually growing. We have a very robust education, schedule of educational classes, and that's for all ages, for young and old. And so I feel like kind of at our core, we're a bunch of plant people. We enjoy plants. We enjoy what the feeling that plants give us. And so if any of your listeners and fans are also plant people, we would invite them to that table that Victoria was talking about, to come give the garden a try, to join, to really experience it in different seasons, because each season has something different to offer.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that where I'll say the Lauritzen Gardens is the best membership, because we literally, you come 4 times a year, 4 seasons, you will have 4 different experiences. We work at that, and both indoor and outdoor, and it's great when people believe that and show up and they're like, you aren't kidding, and it's like, no, it really has 4 distinct seasons.
I kind of like the fact we live in a place that has the 4 seasons, 100%. And it does really feel differently. And I mean, there are times where I'm like, boy, San Diego sounds really nice right now, right?
It's a little cold.
But the landscape doesn't change that much there from season to season. And so I think that sometimes people take that for granted, and a lot of people do come to the garden like at a certain time every year, and that's when they come. But I do think then they're missing out on, if they come for the big daffodil bloom, it's beautiful, but then you're missing out on the beauty of fall when the annuals are at maturity and the trees start to change. Yeah. So I just, like you said, it has something to show us and something to teach us year round. And so encouraging people to get out there and to see it for themselves.
It's the lighting too. It's the lighting, the angles, in the summer, which is when most people come, it can be pretty harsh in some areas. But that's where this time of year and on the winter solstice, come take a walk, and it's just really delightful, and it kind of glows. It just is in a valley, and it's a special place in the winter too.
Yeah, I mean, and if it's not Lauritzen Gardens, it's just like get out into nature during the winter time. Bundle up, get out and explore, and take advantage. We do have a lot of places that are really short drive from here. I know you've been to a lot of them with your family over time too. So so it's just, don't forget about outside time and outdoor time and outdoor experiences in the winter months.
Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
You as well.
Thanks for listening to Oh My Omaha, the podcast. We want to thank our guest, Hurrdat Media, all of you for your support, and the Omaha community at large.
So from Dee and I, keep on exploring.